doing a sports ramble here today. It's been a while since I've done one. Pretty much just chatting about basketball, football, and hockey from what I've been following of it. I know the Braves did just win the World Series, 2-3 weeks ago. So that's cool for Atlanta. I think that's kind of a easing of the pain of that Falcons blown lead in the Super Bowl. A couple of years later, at least, they're able to. Actually, how long ago was that? God. Maybe it's been 5 years. Still, at least they got a title. The Braves do have that other one night from '95 as well. But baseball season's wrapped up. Everything else is kind of kicking into gear. Football's far along. Hockey and basketball, about 15 games in. So I'll start with football. Like I said, hockey's the sport I kind of follow the most now. I kind of casually follow everything else, but I am a Broncos fan. I don't try to get hyped about them anymore. I haven't, even I've said this before, even when they beat the Panthers in the Super Bowl, I was excited and happy for them, but I wasn't like, oh my God, I didn't, didn't mean as much as those back-to-back titles in the late 90s, for me. But they started off 3-0, beat some bad teams, and then they lost 4 in a row. They lost to the Browns when they had 8 guys missing. That was, ugh. And last week they turned around, they destroyed Dallas in Dallas, but they haven't lost to Dallas since '95. I think it said now they probably only played them maybe 5 or 6 times over that span. I know they beat him with Peyton as the quarterback once. I know they beat him, I want to say, who? Actually, I think it was Ron Dane. Had a big run. I think it was in overtime. Whatever. I'm like, okay, they're 5-4 now. Maybe they've gotten something from this. No, they turn around and get destroyed by the Eagles in Denver. I was like, yep, whatever. They realistically need to fire their coach and offensive coordinator, and they obviously need a quarterback. That's been their problem. Because they draft pretty well. That rookie, Javonte Williams, the running back from North Carolina, I believe. It's fucking good, man. Some of it, that dude runs with, power. He's just, boom. Steamrolling people, you can't get him down. And they have a good, they have Cortland Sutton, Judy's back, Hamler's still hurt. They got Noah Fant at tight end. They got Tim Patrick, who's really fucking good. And they got Gordon and Williams at the running backs. If Bridgewater doesn't, I don't know, he, throws a lot of, 5-yard passes. Occasionally, he whips it downfield. He holds onto the ball a ton. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, I would have liked to have seen Locke start the season just to see if he was complete. Because some quarterbacks take some years. But it's not like he showed much of anything when he was a starter. And Bridgewater, they start off 3-0. It's not even like he's having a bad year stat-wise. He's actually having a pretty good year, but... And a lot of that's probably the play calling. Shermer's play calling is not... It probably calls for this. I don't know. They're not... The D's still solid, but occasionally they shit the bed. But, I don't know. They need a coach, and they need either a coach or an offensive coordinator who could bring the best out of pretty much mediocre quarterbacks. Not terrible quarterbacks. They're not either. I don't think Locke or Bridgewater are terrible. Bridgewater's okay, but I think he needs a coordinator that can really bring the best out of him. And Fangio doesn't. I don't know. He seems like he's just more of a coordinator than a head coach material. Who knows, right? Maybe they'll string up some wins, but they got to play the Chiefs twice still. They got the Raiders again, the Chargers twice still, the Bengals and the Lions. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. They need a QB. Truth be told, and Rodgers is supposed to be. I think he's the free agent next year, I would just throw everything at him. Because even if he had like 3 good years left, 2 good years left, it's worth it over what they've had. So, in reality, they should have went after Cam Newton in the offseason. Because he's back in Carolina, and he did well yesterday. So, other than that, the Chiefs blew out the Raiders, I believe, last night, so they'll start picking up their pace and probably win their division. Well, the Chargers are really good, too. Arizona lost. Actually, they lost to the Panthers. There's no, complete standout team, in my opinion, right now. You would have said maybe the Cardinals, but then they lose, so they have 2 losses. The Bucs lost to Washington. So, who's the big AFC team? Titans are doing well. They'll still win their division. The Ravens lost to the Dolphins on Thursday night, so I don't think there's any standout teams right now. But that's how football typically is. That either there's no standout teams, or maybe there's 1 or 2, 3, 4 max between both leagues or conferences, I should say. But yeah, that's football. Basketball's kind of annoying me too. Portland's doing what they're doing. I think they're a game over 500. Maybe they're under 500, I should say. I think they're 6 and 7, maybe. I don't. I appreciate and respect the hell out of the fact that even Lillard. They'd said LeBron was courting Lillard in the offseason. He's I just feel like I wouldn't fit there. I give him a ton of credit for actually sticking with Portland and not trying to really force a trade or anything. But at this point, it's dude, just force a trade, because I don't think it's ever going to happen in Portland. Honestly, I think they peaked with him. They had a couple second round appearances. They made that one conference final where they lost to Golden State. But it's on paper they have such a solid team, but for some reason they'll end up probably making the playoffs because they pick it up enough to where they make it. And they'll probably lose in the first round. So, kind of sucks, but Casillo's a hell of a player, and he's committed to the team, which is great. But I mean, it gets to the point where it's don't bother with that anymore, because they might as well trade you and get some players, and you could have a chance, at a ring elsewhere. Who knows? Maybe they'll turn it on, but. And hockey's been going on. The Islanders I think they've lost 2 in a row. They're in a weird spot because they had to start the game on a 13-game road trip because their arena is not completely done yet. I think their home game is this Saturday coming up, maybe. I don't know. They might even pushed it back. I can't remember. I want to say what are they? Are they 5-4-2 or something like that? I don't know. I know they lost to the Devils last. But they haven't been playing necessarily terrible. But their divisions, I mean, everybody, the Rangers, the fucking Flyers, the Hurricanes, Capitals, Penguins. I mean, there's no terrible team in their division. So it is a tough division for sure. It's probably the toughest in the league. The Panthers are off to a hot start. But trying to think of who else is really off to a good start. I can't remember. I'm actually today probably going to pick up a box of cards off eBay. It's going to be 90-91 Upper Deck. Because if I get it, it'll be $33 after tax. There's 36 packs in these boxes. I remember I had these boxes. I had a ton of these cards back in the day. I still have some. When I did those cards, where I've shown the cards in the plastic sleeves, I would have shown some from 90-91 Upper Deck. So I'll probably do that, and maybe I'll split it into maybe 2. Maybe I'll do 18 packs, one, and 18 another, just to kind of get 2 videos out of it. Maybe not put them up back to back, but maybe put one up and then maybe a few weeks later put up another one. But I was like, shit. I was looking at all the Upper Deck baseball cards too from that era. Boxes are not that expensive. You can get them for under $30. So, and it's also nostalgia driven as well. But I would love to do it with the Upper Deck. The first, I think 91-92 is the first Upper Deck season for basketball. Those boxes are actually a little pricey. You got to pay like $70-$80 for boxes. I think I still have the Jordan from that year. I have to look. But yeah, I mean, I can't really ramble too much on the sports stuff because, like I said, I've been kind of, even with hockey at this point, I've been kind of like back a little bit. Like I know their record, but I haven't been following a lot of the other stuff going on in the league at the moment. I know McDavid's ripping it up. There's like a couple players ripping up. Draisaitl might be ripping it up as well. Ovechkin's, I think, probably racked up 10, 11 goals already, so he's actually closing in on the goal record. I don't want to say I was like getting excited for Denver, but it was cool. Like that win against Dallas I was like, holy shit, a big win for them. Because everybody else they beat was Washington, Jacksonville, the Jets, and the Giants. Not great teams, right? And they went over Dallas, and they turn around and lose to an Eagles team they should beat in Denver. No, like in Denver, it's like, come on, man. To me, that shows you're not even for real in terms of competing to get for a playoff spot. Now, of course, it's football. Maybe they start rolling some good teams, but I don't think that's going to happen, honestly. There's been no proof of that the last, 5 years that they are capable of doing that, or at least the last 4. The year after the Super Bowl, they did still go 9-7. So, and their common extra game this year is the Lion game, the 17th game. It's not the 17th game, I don't think, but that's like the random game they play. I guess they're just throwing random teams at each other. But yeah, hopefully they win that one. I don't know. It's kind of annoying, you're like, it's not even like, I kind of just want to see Denver make the playoffs, just because they're on a streak of 5 years without making it. It's probably going to go to 6. They're such a weird franchise because they have 3 Super Bowls. They've been to 8 over their history. But, since Elway retired in 98, after the 98 season, they've made the playoffs 4 years with Manning, 3 years with Plummer, Jake Plummer, that's 7. The one with Tebow, 8. And they made another one where Gracie and Gus Frerotte were the starters. So they have 9, 8, what did I say? 9 playoff appearances since 99, the 99 season. That's not really good for a franchise, you think, with, kind of the success they've had. It's weird. I mean, if you take the Peyton years out, they had picked up another Super Bowl and went to 2 Super Bowls with him, but I don't know if they would have even made the playoffs any more times then. They made it 8-8 with Tebow. That's when their division sucked. I remember that season. They were winning games in the craziest. I think not McMahon, it was Matt Prater at the time. Was bombing 60-plus yard field goals to win weird shit. The other team would do weird shit and fuck themselves. But it was an awesome moment when they beat the Steelers in that first playoff game in Denver in overtime. Tebow hits Demaryius Thomas and he takes to the house. That was awesome. It was an awesome moment because they hadn't won a playoff game. Well, they hadn't made the playoffs, I should say. They had won that playoff game with Plummer when they beat the Patriots for Brady's first playoff loss. But, it was a big deal because they hadn't, that was 2000, was that the 2011 season? Yeah, it was 2012 playoffs, 2011 season, I believe, right? Yeah. So at that point, that was their first playoff win since 2005. And they hadn't made the playoffs at that point for another, 5 years, so, in a row. so it was nice. Although that 5-year playoff gap, they had the one shit year where they ended up drafting Von Miller because they had like the second pick or some shit. All the other years they were either 7-9, 9-7, or 8-8. So they were like teetering. They were like an average team. This last run of missed playoffs, they've just not been good. So, but that was a big moment. And then they went to New England the next week and got destroyed like 40 something to 10. But it was a nice moment. And then they get paid, and obviously they go to 2 Super Bowls. They get destroyed in the one and win the second one. But yeah, I think that's the end of that ramble. Not a great one, I'll say, but just kind of an update on the teams that I like what they're doing. And hopefully I can kind of focus on them a little more. But anyway, yeah, thanks for checking this out, and have a good day.